before I was elected as vice president, before I was elected as United States Senator. I was the elected Attorney General, as I've mentioned, of California. And before that, I was a courtroom prosecutor. In those roles, I took on perpetrators of all kinds. Predators who abused women, fraudsters who ripped off consumers, cheaters who broke the rules for their own gain. So hear me when I say, I know Donald Trump's type.
Kamala Harris throwing her weight around, speaking for the first time at a Harris for President campaign event.
While she came out swinging against Donald Trump, she failed to mention with less than a month before the DNC, the nomination process is in the hands of a bunch of party elitists who've handpicked her as the Democratic nominee, presenting no other choices.
So you either fall in line or fall aside. Let's bring in OutKick founder Clay Travis. Clay, this make-believe democracy sure is interesting.
Yeah, look, I mean, they have been saying now in the Democrat Party for a long time that Trump is a unique threat to democracy. They've been making that argument since January 6th of 2021. What have they done since then? They've tried to use the full might of their Department of Justice to put Donald Trump in prison for the rest of his life. That is, at the time, the chief political adversary of Joe Biden. And now they have managed to push Joe Biden to the side after completely clearing effectively all challengers from the race for the 2024 Democrat primary. And they're elevating Kamala Harris as their nominee, despite the fact that she has never received a single vote for president of the United States. In one fell swoop, they're invalidating over 14 million Democrat voters. And I believe they're putting in place a woman who is going to lose by even more than Joe Biden would have if he were the nominee.
I mean, this is unprecedented, Clay. It's classic projection. When I'm doing something wrong, I say Brian is doing it so that it doesn't look like it's me. That is exactly what they're doing here. The Democrats are the threat to democracy, if anybody is.
Yeah, I think certainly that's the case. And I think the American public's going to see through this. Ultimately, I'm not surprised that Joe Biden is no longer the candidate. I've been saying for over 2 years that he was going to be gone and that he would not be running in 2024. They held out with him as long as they can. But I think the challenging spot that they're going to find themselves in is Joe Biden was able to win because they branded him as a likable, grandfatherly figure who was unthreatening to many different suburban women voters, but also to older white rural voters. They got just enough vote out of Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan to be able to get him across the finish line. I don't think Kamala Harris is going to have that same appeal. I think as Americans learn more about Kamala Harris, they're going to find her more unlikable. Remember, she runs in a state that is dominated by a one-party system. Right. She's never really had a contested, aggressive opponent. I think she'll have that with Donald Trump. I don't think this race is going to end up very close. You can already see in some early polling, she's actually underperforming Joe Biden. I think that will grow, and I think Democrats are in a real pickle, if you want to use a word here, to try to figure out where they're going to end up.
So are they going to stage manage it just like they did with Biden? I mean, is the idea, if we can script this so carefully and only put her on the stages we want her on, maybe, just maybe, America won't see what makes her so unlikable?
Well, I mean, I think certainly you know that you're going to have the full arm of the propaganda media behind you with the New York Times, Washington Post, ABC, NBC, CBS, MSNBC, CNN. We know they're not going to ask difficult questions. They managed to get rid of Joe Biden. They'll now try to turn Kamala Harris into a modern-day Nelson Mandela before all is said and done. Just wait. But I think the challenge they're going to have is she's playing from behind. Yeah. And the analogy that I've made, I come from the world of sports, is when you bring in a backup quarterback, sometimes in the short run, the backup quarterback can play well, but most of the time it doesn't turn into that quarterback Tom Brady. Most of the time you're a backup for a reason. And an unchallenged backup, I think, gets exposed. I think that's what happens with Kamala.
You know, it's so interesting, Clay, if you think back to the last 3.5 years, they hit her. Reporting indicated that Biden really didn't get along with her. She had the word salads and really couldn't handle things things on stage when she would come up to speak to the American people. And so they would hide her and not put her out there. So when I see her now being the presumptive nominee, I say to myself, did he do something tricky here, old Joe, on his way out and push her out there when maybe his party didn't want him to?
Well, I think if they had a real challenge and Joe Biden had stepped down, Kamala Harris wouldn't have been the nominee. I don't think she would have won the 2024 Democrat primary season. I think someone else would have. I think a lot of people would agree with that. I think many Democrats would agree with that. We know that when she ran in the 2020 election cycle, she was forced to drop out, overwhelmingly rejected by Democrats. The only real time she made substantial news was when she accused Joe Biden of being racist in the debates, and that is the time that that probably her overall campaign peaked, and from there it collapsed. And I think what's going to happen is, without any ability to hide her anymore, that they're going to be in a really difficult situation. I think Trump is going to pull away even more, and it's important. The voters that are going to decide this election in Michigan, in Minnesota, in Wisconsin, and in Pennsylvania, in the Big Ten states, I don't think they're going to find her more likable than Joe Biden. And that's ultimately why I think a panic's going to set in a couple of weeks.
Look, some blue states may flip over this, too. It just may push them over the edge. Clay Travis, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it.